사랑해요, 아저씨.
Hello, and welcome to Mike and Matt Pull Focus. I'm Mike.
And I'm not.
And today we're going to be talking about the 2003 Park Chan-wook film, Oldboy. For those unfamiliar with Oldboy, the story revolves around Oh Dae-soo, a man who is kidnapped and imprisoned for 15 years by a mystery assailant. After 15 years of imprisonment, he is set free with 1 week to find out who kidnapped him and why. Matt, you were relatively new to this and I introduced you to it. So what were your feelings when I first introduced you to this film?
Well, we first watched this about 6 months ago, or maybe less, and I'm still reeling from it. I rewatched it again last night just to, refamiliarise myself with it. But it was one of these movies that I'd heard talked about, probably ever since its release. Have you seen Oldboy? Why haven't you seen Oldboy?
Yeah.
How dare you've not seen Oldboy? It's the best, Asian, South Korean movie.
Yeah.
Ever. You've seen On Back, you've seen, what's that one called with all the Kung Fu Hustle, you've seen all these movies, but you've never seen Oldboy, Jesus Christ. And I never got around to it.
It's a different level, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I rewatched it again last night, and I'm still on a complete, I've been thinking about it all day. I'm on a complete rush from it. I think it's an absolute masterpiece.
I'm so glad to hear that because it is definitely in my top 10 films of all time. I adore this film so much. And
when did you first see it?
I first saw it around about, I probably was too young for it, if that's for definite. I think it was on Film 4 one night, and they were showing some extreme Asian cinema.
Oh,
and
God.
I had
Film
heard,
4 used to be great, didn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely was. And like you, I had heard such fantastic things about it. It was in IMDb's top 250. It was highly recommended by people's opinion I respected. And so I just gave it a go because I wasn't that versed in Asian cinema. And
did you love it from the get-go, or was it one of these that kind of grew on you like a good album?
Oh no, I instantly fell in love with it. I thought the cinematography was amazing. I fell in love with the soundtrack. The music was outstanding. The main actor, Min-Sik, he is so passionate and amazing. I keep saying the word amazing, but
the word amazing keeps coming up. That can't be a bad thing.
It does. I'll get a thesaurus one day, but up until then, just the only thing I can say about this film is amazing in every aspect. The acting, the directing, the cinematography, the lighting, the sound.
The soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack is brilliant. And I think Oldboy has my favourite villain of all time, for sure. Lee Woo-jin is the bad guy in this, and he is so incredibly charismatic, and he revels in his evilness throughout this film. His plan is going so well, and he just loves every minute of it. And
I think on that level, if I could just interject, I think that works because if you knew exactly, we're going to get into some major spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, eventually.
Major spoilers.
We'll try and avoid them at the beginning. But
we'll do that half and half thing where we'll give you a general plot, maybe walk through the plot a little bit until we get to the end. But because you don't know from the start what this guy's, the bad guy's motives are.
Yeah.
He is never over the top or too villainous, because if you knew exactly like a Bond villain what he wanted, if he wanted the nuclear missile or whatever, you'd be like, oh, this is such a hammy kind of performance, or so it's more that way. But because you don't know why he's doing this to him, that's what's great about it.
So in a way, I feel like that puts us more in the protagonist's headspace because he doesn't know. I should say the character's name is Oh Dae-soo, but for ease, we're just going to call him Oldboy.
Oh, we agreed on that. Okay, not just we'll both do that. So
yeah, the protagonist is going to be
Oldboy.
Yes,
and then the bad guy, whose name is
Lee Woo-jin,
will just be the bad guy.
Oh yeah, or the bad guy.
And then Oldboy has a daughter.
Oldboy has a daughter. Oldboy has a wife. Oldboy has a best friend. Oldboy has a love interest. We're just going to refer to them as Oldboy's love interest, daughter,
we'll edit that
wife.
Nearly gave it away then. Okay.
Anyway, so the film begins with Oh Dae-soo, Oldboy, in a police station, having been arrested for drunken disorderly conduct. Whilst in the police station, he gets into a bit more trouble with the police, mentions that he has a daughter who's 3 at it's her 3rd birthday today. He's got her a present, but he's quite obviously just gotten drunk, and instantly I felt sorry for this character. I felt empathy. I felt despair for him because
I didn't even know he was our hero. I was like, who is this guy?
Oh yeah, completely.
Because you're looking at the police station. What would you call it? Like the sort of, the holding area.
Yeah, the drunk cell.
The drunk tank, yeah. and you're like, who are we? Is that our guy, or is that just a comic relief character who's kind of there? I really didn't know, and that's another thing, that...
He's just a Joe Schlub. He's just a businessman who is too drunk to realise it's his daughter's birthday, and he shouldn't be in a drunk cell. He should be giving the present that he got her to his daughter.
So already you kind of like, hero? Okay.
Exactly, yeah. He's a very unexpected hero.
Yeah.
And essentially, he's picked up by his best friend. He goes outside to make a phone call to say happy birthday to his 3-year-old, who he's about to come back and see and give a present to. But before he's able to do that, he's kidnapped, essentially. And then the title, and then the titles roll. And I just think that is absolutely fantastic opening, because you are given this mystery like very, very quickly. It's set up in an instant. You know who he is. You know sort of about his character. You know about his family, you know about what he holds dear in his life, but you also know that he isn't really a model citizen. He isn't really a model father. Yeah. He isn't really a model friend, since his best friend has to come and bail him out. Yeah. And essentially, you see this character go on such a journey. I think it's such a fantastic way of showing just a down-and-out person, especially when the next thing you see is the changed man. Yeah. And you see where he's come from and what he is now. It's
kind of more mystery in the way I never thought about this until now. But like, because he's drunk from the very beginning, you never really have met the guy yet. No. You don't really know who he is, what he's like when he's sober, and when he's like, sort of compos mentis. So it's like, when you then meet him in the cell, or in his what turns out to be his prison cell, which kind of resembles like a hotel room.
Yeah, essentially.
It's got a TV, it's got a comfy bed, it's got all these things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He wakes up after being kidnapped, and he's in a hotel room. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know who's put in there or why he's there. But someone is keeping him there and feeding him dumplings. And all he's got to do in that room is wind away the years with a television for company, and that is it.
Not a bad sentence if it only lasted for a few weeks, but...
I don't know.
But they're not knowing.
Your idea of solitary confinement is a bit different from mine.
Oh, yeah, things are cool. But, like, I guess, he just goes on and on. He starts to tattoo the numbers, the amount of years.
Oh, yeah, after a few years, he tattoos the numbers on his hand. He tries to figure out who has put him there. He tries to figure out, like, who he has wronged in his life that has put him there, like, who could have done this to him. But the fact is that he's such a lout and such a horrible person. The list is endless. It fills notepad after notepad after notepad of people he has wronged in his life. And he's there for 15 years. Yeah. So he's there long enough to figure out that it could be so many people.
Yeah, it's not like there's so much who as which.
Exactly.
Which one of these people that I pissed off will... Yeah.
So, again, this isn't a likable protagonist, sorry. This isn't a likable lead. This is someone who has done a horrible thing to someone. He is worthy of this punishment in someone's eyes.
Yeah, but because we don't know like exactly what his crime is or like what he's done, you're still kind of on side with him, even though he's not perfect. He's got a lot of redemption. He needs to redeem himself in a lot of ways. And then the years start to count up. We know that he's been there for like 2 years, 5 years, 8 years. It keeps going up and up and up, and he starts to hallucinate. He starts to see these weird like ants crawling around.
Yeah, the loneliness sets in. He starts, especially after he finds out that he's being framed for the death of his wife and daughter. Right. That he finds out via just a news report on the TV. I don't think this is spoilers, because this happens in the first like about 10 minutes of the film. I'd say this. The film hasn't really kicked off yet. But essentially, he's put in that hotel room. He's framed for the murder of his daughter and his wife, and essentially he starts going just completely crazy. He smashes a mirror, tries to slit his wrists, and they stop that from happening, and they patch him all up and say, nope, you ain't getting out of here that easy.
He's got so we know from that point, when these failed or sort of interrupting his suicide attempts, we know that someone wants him alive. They don't just want him to die or to drive himself to suicide.
He hasn't found himself in this hotel room by chance. Someone wants him here. Someone wants him to suffer, and therefore makes it all the more real that he has done something so heinous to someone, that this crime, this unimaginable crime of just solitary confinement for 15 years has been put on him. and it just fuels the mystery over what he could have possibly done. Short of murdering someone, which surely he would remember doing, what could he have done that has caused this?
It soon becomes, you realise it's a fate worse than death.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, someone is trying to impose a fate worse than death.
And I hope you can understand, like, my mystery. The mystery in my head was just growing and growing, and I was like, what could he have done? This is why I was so invested in this film the first time I watched it, and I don't know if you were the same. But
no, I mean, I kept coming back to this, you know, the phrase edge of my seat. I was completely like, I think movies like this do that to you, that you're literally, because you're kind of, I don't say confused, because you're not really confused as such, you know it's leading you somewhere, but you just can't look away. You've turned it on, there's no way you can turn it off. And there's some pretty major twists and turns that happen in the film, and I watched it for the second time yesterday, and as I was saying to you before, like, it did not ruin the suspense at all.
That's good.
Any movie with the twists or any kind of massive, you know, plot twists and turns in it, like Psycho or Seven or, you know, Jacob's Ladder or any of those movies, if they're well made, it feels like the first time you're watching it every time.
I feel like that with my favourite film of all time is Memento.
Yeah.
And
great example. Yeah,
and it's often cited to me or in popular media that, it's not as good the second time, it's not as good the third time, it's not a good replay value. Whereas I can watch that film endlessly and still be won over by the character drama that it is, rather than the mystery of what is actually at the core of it. I know what it is from the off, and it still doesn't matter to me. And that's the same with Oldboy, really. It's
like with me and Seven. It's like, what's in the box, man? You know, it's like, I know what's in the box, but you sort of forget what, you know, your brain tells you, right? Don't forget, you don't know what's in the box either, you know.
Exactly, because the movie's like, it's led you for the first like hour and a half. So when you get to the last half hour, you're still that first time. Your mentality is still, I wonder what it is, and like. So there probably is a small voice in the back of you going, it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head. But
there was a really lame lead-up line to that I've realised on repeat viewings of Seven, where they're getting their mics strapped to them, and Brad Pitt's shaving his chest, and he says, if I keep coming home late, my wife's going to wonder what's up. That's the worst Brad Pitt impression ever, but just generic American. But it's just like,
John Doe has the upper hand. That's the only line that I keep remembering.
I love that. Yeah, don't come in here now. Oh, it's so good, because that's the first time in the movie you see Morgan Freeman just completely break. You know, he's so calm and like tested for it, and then tangent a little bit. That's what this podcast is all about.
Of course. Back to
Oldboy.
So after 15 years, Odesu, Oldboy, is finally released from his prison cell, his hotel room. He is hypnotized, he is put inside of a suitcase and let loose on the rooftop of a random South Korean building. And he sees the sun for the first time in 15 years. He is completely vitamin D deficient. He is white as a sheet. He is... His hair's all massive.
Hair.
You've probably seen the famous image of Odesu holding a hammer, like on the cover of the box art or something. And that the difference from how you first saw him in that drunk tank to what he is now. He's thin, he's lean, he's spent his 15 years performing martial arts training, beefing
punching
himself
a brick
up.
wall, essentially.
Having calluses on his knuckles, and he is looking so different, and he's just amazed that there is someone on the rooftop. Another human being is there.
So he's released, and he turns and he sees this guy holding like a poodle.
On the rooftop.
And that's really funny, and it made me laugh. And that's another thing that I think is really important about this, is tonally, it's really funny. Well, there's so much comedy in it.
There is a lot of dark comedy in it.
Dark comedy, but you know, there's that's another thing that just keeps you on your toes, and you're just kind of like, and it's not one of those films that's like tonally all over the place in it, and it's worse for it. It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, like, it's not like. Did you see The Snowman last year or the year before? The Michael.
What, the Alice Jones one? Or
no, the Michael Fassbender.
Talking about bleak endings, Jesus Christ! That got. I mean, this year I've watched that every year since I was a kid. This year I couldn't bear it when the snowman melted. Anyway,
spoilers.
Yes. But no, oh god,
the Michael Fassbender Snowman that came out last year.
I heard bad reviews, so I didn't actually rush to see it.
Such a bad film. It's essentially an unfinished film. It's 80% complete, but even the 80% that is there is hilarious because it's so rubbish. But like,
why just like quickly, like what's so bad about it? Is that a tonal issue?
Yeah, the plot goes everywhere and doesn't really complete lots of side things. Val Kilmer's in it, and
That's like
he's
reason number
so
one.
badly dubbed. It's not. I think it's not his voice. I really hope it's not his voice. And just nothing really happens. The plot goes nowhere. They try and twist and turn, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's just an incomplete film, and you just
there you go. Like you've just said it. I mean, that's an example of like twists for the sake of twists.
Yeah.
It's probably the writer has set out to do a film with lots of twists and
I
turns.
think it was based on a novel, so I think it was like the script was just slapdash and didn't really take. I mean, again, from what I haven't read the book, but that's what I heard. But when you see something like that, The Snowman, and you start laughing because of how just there is no laughter in it.
Yeah.
So you have to make it, because otherwise you're just going to cry. Yeah. And it's just so dour.
I heard this recently about horror films that said if you don't give them something to laugh at, then they'll find something to laugh at. So that's why a lot of horror movies have that relief of, a joke or like, making this ridiculous, because otherwise people are going to start laughing at it when it's trying to be serious.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you have this, you have an entire opening of mystery and intrigue and kidnapping and murder and just someone being held captive in a hotel room. If you give them a little bit of relief, that is going to do massive amounts of respect. You're going to like the movie more. Yeah. You're going to feel like, oh God, I don't want to turn this off now. I want to actually see where this is going.
Yeah, and again, it makes him kind of, you feel sorry for him a bit more in a way, because he does have this kind of human. He's not just this kind of crazy, like psychotic guy who was once a drunk. Yeah. He's like, he has this kind of humanity to him. There's a scene in the lift where he comes down, and just because he's not seen people, he's just because he's been locked away, he's kind of up against the corner of the lift.
Yeah, there's a woman, and it's the first woman he's seen in 15 years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I feel like it's him trying to refrain from doing anything untoward.
There is a lot of strange sexual, like, sort of things that are a bit close to the edge.
Yeah, there is.
Again, not close to the edge for a movie. I mean, movies are okay to do whatever they want, but, for you to feel sympathy for him.
Well, yeah, again, I just feel like it's not supposed to be like an empathetic moment, or you're supposed to like sympathize with the character. It's just showing he's human, and this is just what would happen to a person if you were starved of attention or starved of interaction with a person. This is how they would probably react.
Look but it at also Tom Hanks in Castaway. I mean, he had sex with like a beach ball.
Is that what you took out of that film?
My name's Voight, dumbass.
Oh God, I can't imagine. All I can imagine is Tom Hanks shouting Winston. Oh, Wilson. Winston?
Yeah. My name's Wilson, dumbass.
I've been playing Overwatch too much. So him now screaming Wilson in a very orgasmic way. So thank you very much for ruining that film for me.
Soz. But yeah, so what,
But again, with that scene, you think it could potentially have an overlay of, oh God, this guy's a bit of a sex pest. The fact is that he's refraining himself in such a comedic way.
Yeah.
But then the woman is wearing these massively over-the-top sunglasses. Yeah. And then the next scene you see is the woman complaining to a police officer about him Oldboy walking away from her, and he's wearing her sunglasses.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they look like Dame Edna Everidge's glasses, and they don't suit him at all because he's got such a maudlin face on. Yeah. Because he's just had to escape 15 years of captivity, and he's now hell-bent on revenge, but he's wearing such stupid glasses.
Yeah.
And again, you take Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, where Arnold Schwarzenegger goes into a bar and says, I need your glasses, or whatever. Yeah. And he ends up with
the Elton
John shades. And that just makes a mockery of a character.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, what the hell?
Because that's a take on a previous movie. That's spoofing a previous movie.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that kind of takes you out of the film a bit.
Yeah,
that doesn't really add to the character. That's just and
that was the least of that film's problems. But that's absolutely
But
true.
That's humour for humour's sake. It doesn't add anything to the character.
No.
But this is just... He hasn't seen the sun before. He's struggling with looking at bright stuff.
Yeah.
So he takes shades, and he takes the only thing that are available, and they're massive kind of like bug eye glasses. So after the elevator scene with the lady, he's got these shades on. He goes into town and he meets a vagrant who says, I don't know anything, but here is some money and a burner phone. The phone starts ringing. He picks it up, and there's a mystery voice on the end saying, oh, I miss you. Come back to me. And this is the person who's been keeping him captive, and he doesn't know who it is. But the fact is that he is just set on this mission to say, you've got 7 days to find out why I kept you in this hotel for 15 years. And if you don't, I'm going to kill you. essentially. So that straight out the gate is intriguing idea. You've got a ticking clock. You've got a mystery at the center of everything that you want to find out why, because you are like him, thinking, "What in God's name did this person do?"
Yeah.
So that's why I love this film, because it grips me, and like you, edge of the seat all the way through.
Yeah, no, that is. I mean, that's another great scene, and you just like, what kind of roller coaster ride are we in for here? Like, where are we going? And then following that, he goes to the sushi bar.
Yeah, there's a sushi bar he goes into because, again, he's kind of programmed in a way. His hypnosis suggests that he should go to this specific sushi restaurant, meet this specific waitress, and order a specific meal. Which, unfortunately, for all the vegetarians and vegans out there, is a live octopus.
And this is a pretty infamous scene. I actually spoke to, after we watched it for the first time, I spoke to a friend of mine and I said, "Have you seen Oldboy?" And he said, "Nope, but I've seen the octopus scene."
Yes.
So that's an very infamous scene.
This film is known for two scenes, the hallway fight and the octopus scene, yes.
So in this scene, he's served a live octopus, and after, a sort of frantic conversation, he eats it, and it's real.
Yes, it's a live octopus that he ate, even though he's a Buddhist.
The actor?
Yeah. Choi Min-Sik is a Buddhist actor, and he, even though he did have some reservations, he did the Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, he ate the live creature, which I found, at first time, I found revolting, because I'm a natural human and I don't like to eat live things.
It's not nice to see something suffering. And
I mean, like, even though I'm a meat eater, I like to have my animals dead. No, I'm not going to say that.
I think, if anything, no, I mean, that's the thing with these kind of, conversations. I always find it a bit, because I'm a meat eater and I find it hypocritical to say I don't like to see an animal being killed. Yeah. Because I eat animals all the time. Yeah. And I have no participation in their death, which makes me more of a coward. Anyway, but I mean, I honestly, it is gratuitous, because to me it doesn't actually serve any purpose apart from saying, around the Cannes Film Festival, "Oh, have you been to see the movie yet where that guy eats the octopus?"
See,
that was for me. It felt like it felt gratuitous. It felt like it was just for the sake of it. If you want to do that in your movies, whatever, but it's not. I didn't think take that out. I wouldn't miss it.
I agree. But on multiple viewings, I've come to see it as, the fact is that he is so driven by revenge, and he is so driven to kill, that he just wants to eat something alive. He wants to kill something, and that is the most literal way you can show the fact that his death drive is so over the top and extreme, that he just grabs this living creature and eats it, so much so that it is clawing at his face to stop him eating it. It is disgusting. It is revolting. It is not meant to make you like this character whatsoever. It's Asia extreme. This film has teeth torture. This film has scenes of extreme violence. It has the fucking hallway scene. Is absolutely amazing.
I can't wait. Yeah, we need to talk about that.
We will, but oh my god! I mean, when you look back at it, the octopus scene is infamous, but compared to the rest, it seems so light.
I think that I agree, except that the act of eating a live animal is I'd put it this way. My feeling is that, like, I'm sure that happens in sushi restaurants all over Asia. I don't care that it happens, but there's no way that I can morally justify it. Let's put it that way. So, if you ask me, it shouldn't have happened, but it happens. Okay. And there you go. And it's, like you said, it does serve a narrative purpose.
I mean, I've got a lot of friends who I agree with that say that the same thing with sexual violence towards women. It has no artistic merit. There's no, I mean, like, I Spit on Your Grave or something like that, even though it's like a rape revenge, there's still no need to have it on screen. If a film can't be, or if a story can't be told without sexual violence towards women, then is it a story that needs to be told?
Well, I think in the case of I Spit on Your Grave, it definitely is justified because it serves the narrative. I think that's a great film.
But you can still have a revenge movie without that aspect of it.
Anything in the movie in context is fine, and if it's played right and if it serves the story, then there's no reason why it shouldn't happen.
I don't think there are many stories that are served well by that. Okay. That's all. I feel like if a story needs that to be served well, it's not a good enough story.
Okay.
Kind of.
Fair enough. We won't do a review of Aspect Grave.
Or Irreversible. Yeah. It's
Irreversible?
way too prevalent.
What was that?
French movie with Monica Bellucci, where there is, again, an infamous, very realistic sexual assault scene, and it's just uncomfortable to watch. And
I was watching Straw Dogs recently. I really struggled actually to watch that. Yeah. It was and the ultimate example is I watched a movie called Martyrs recently.
Oh, Martyrs is.
Have you seen that?
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was worth watching to get to that finale.
I completely disagree in that I was really, really ready to turn it off. Yeah. About 45 minutes in, I was just thought, I can't bear this anymore. This is like the violence. It wasn't sexual violence. It was just the violence towards a woman. I just couldn't. It was really. I mean, even if it'd been towards a man, either way, it was just so horrible to watch.
Yeah.
And I just thought, God, this better be going somewhere, because I've been sitting here for about 10 minutes in discomfort, and I just don't know. And then I saw it through, and I thought it paid off really well. But I'm an atheist, and so it was kind of it was a movie about atheism. That's the way I read it, and so in a way, it was kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
that's what this is about. That pays off, and it serves my the way I think, way I think about the world. So that kind of worked.
Have you seen the American remake?
No, I didn't bother. Oldboy has an American remake.
Oh, bringing it back to that. Why mention the American remake?
You watched it?
I went to the cinema to watch it, yes.
It was re-released?
It was released back in, I'd say, 2013.
Oh, so you watched it then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have high expectations because I love this. I love the South Korean so much. The South Korean film I love so much. I hated it. I hated everything about it. I have recently rewatched it just for the purposes of just comparing again this South Korean version to the American version, and I had to leave you voice messages of pure anger and disgust.
They were pretty epic, actually. I was aware that you were going to watch it, and then it was. Yeah, I wish we had them to play. Actually, I should have kept them. It was an absolute tirade against it.
I could repeat them ad nauseum.
Yeah.
I could just the hate that I have for that film holds no bounds.
It took everything that was in this movie and dumbed it down, and it didn't even have elements of the original.
It's. Imagine
vital plot elements.
Imagine that you have a ice cream dessert that you absolutely adore. It's provided by McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, whatever, or Ben and Jerry's. It's such fantastic things because it includes all the ingredients that you love. It has rainbow sprinkles. It has
chocolate sauce.
It has chocolate sauce, strawberry sauce. It has everything in it. And then someone else is going to be bringing out the same thing with the same packaging, with the same claims that it's going to make you fall in love with it all over again, but it's just plain vanilla ice cream. Right. Do you eat that ice cream? You try and stomach it. It's okay. It's nothing special. But when you've already had the one that provided you with such an emotional rush and a high, probably of pure sugar, but still, that comparison is absolutely just thrown out of the water and just
and it just comes down to what's the point. I mean, obviously money is a big point, but
essentially
it's got that it's pre-sold because people know the title Oldboy, so people are going to go and see it. But I mean, what artistically there is I think some movies need remakes, like for example, I mean, The Fly is a great remake.
Yeah.
The Thing is a great remake. It kind of needed remaking.
Not the 2011 Thing.
No, the 1980s, 82.
The Carpenter one.
Yeah, because that was a remake of.
Yeah, of course. Just making sure. It's been remade like twice now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's why when It came out, it was a good example. I remember saying I didn't love It. But it was a better movie than the original. And I remember when people said, "Oh, well, the original's the best." And I said, well, with It could use a remake. It wasn't a great movie. It was it was 2 episodes put together from American TV, but it didn't work very well as a movie. And the new one worked better as a movie. It had good things, bad things. I didn't love it, but anyway. So when it comes to something like Oldboy, it's so perfect, like the original one, and it's so original.
Yeah, completely.
Like,
it doesn't need.
What is the point?
It doesn't need touching. It doesn't need changing. It's for the people who don't like subtitles.
Yeah,
it's for the people who don't like extreme stories. It's for the people who don't like. I mean, like, even I say that they didn't change that much about the themes of it. The themes are very much similar, but they just changed them and film them in such a confusing and different way.
So they didn't just take away from the narrative, they actually moved things around and made the narrative not make as much sense?
Well, in the original, events at the beginning of the film are reincorporated later, or like things are said that are brought back later. And in the same way that like Edgar Wright does it in The Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, where things happen twice and like they rhyme, not to sound like George Lucas, but they do, and it creates an air of whimsy in Edgar Wright's. But in Oldboy, like he's Odesu, Oldboy, is insulted at the beginning when he first meets a gang of street youths. He's insulted and called a dick shit. Sorry for the families out there or the kids, but like he's never heard this swear word before, because in 15 years, just the culture has evolved into creating such horrible new words. And then he calls someone it later on. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, like if you're paying attention, oh, he's learned something and he's using it. Yeah. Or the music from when someone is being tortured is brought back when the tables are turned, and then Odesu is being tortured. The music's being used again, and it's like, oh, okay, I can see what you're doing there. There's a theme there. Or even the first line, or the first thing he's actually someone says to him when he's on top of the building is, "Even though I'm no better than a beast, don't I have the right to live?" Yeah. Which essentially is the message of the film. Yeah. The last thing he says to himself is that. Yeah. And that is just beautiful. Yeah. And there's a poetry to it. Things come back and haunt the main protagonist. The looking in a mirror, or the reflection of, I think it's a weeping Jesus in the hotel room, saying, when you weep and you weep, no, cry and the whole world, laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. Yeah. And that gets repurposed all the way through the film. Every time something bad happens to the protagonist, instead of crying, he starts smiling, this really weird maniacal smile. Yeah. And you think, oh my God, he's going crazy. But no, that's just him having that message all the way through, that if you smile, the world will smile with you, because he doesn't want to cry about the horrible situation that he's in. And
it's great. I mean, these things really, it's a film of repeat viewing as well. I think, I enjoyed it so much more the second time around. These details that you've just mentioned, I've not noticed.
Exactly.
But how many times have you seen this? I mean, 50 times.
Countless. Yeah, I'd say. I can easily watch this at least like once a month and still enjoy it. Yeah. But the fact is that the American remake has nothing like that. It doesn't even have the main central theme running through it. Yeah. I mean, the arc that Odesu goes through in this is one of my favourites in all of history, in all film history. The fact that you think it's his redemption, but it's just, I mean, not to have any spoilers, but it's the revelation of what has caused him to be put into that hotel room is so devastating, and the action that is took upon him isn't his revenge at all.
I think this is probably a good time to move on to spoilers. If we're going to go from the sushi restaurant scene onwards, then I think we should. Right, so major spoilers. If you don't listen to this, if you haven't seen it, and don't watch the American remake first, make sure you watch the original 2003.
That's a disclaimer for any time. Do not watch Spike Lee's 2013 remake of Oldboy. It is absolutely atrocious. You will have no enjoyment. You will find nothing of value in it whatsoever. Instead, watch the 2003 Park Chan-wook revenge thriller, or the entire revenge trilogy that he has, and then come back and listen to this, because we're talking about spoilers, we're talking about the ending, we're talking about one of my favourite movie twists of all time. So please, if you haven't, please go and watch it now and come back.
Right, Mike, so sushi scene.
We've
met somebody.
We have.
Who is she?
She is called Mido. She is a chef at the sushi restaurant. She touches Odesu's hand. He instantly passes out, and she takes him back to her apartment, in which she learns all about the history of what he's had to do these 15 years, and essentially becomes his sidekick to try and find out why and what has happened. All the way through the film, they get closer and closer. They find the hotel via a very funny and very tongue-in-cheek dumpling search. They go through so many restaurants trying to find dumplings. Odesu, because that's all he ate when he was in the hotel room.
So he's going to be able to identify these. He was given every day.
He had 15 years of just dumplings, so he's able to recognise what restaurant these dumplings come from.
And so that therefore you'll know that he's in the right area of where he was held. Because,
Exactly.
Yeah, they
So
must have
then
ordered these things out.
when he finds the restaurant, he'll be able to chase one of the delivery drivers and find where he was held. He finds where he was held. It all becomes a large amount of intrigue. And the revelation is that he is being held captive by a person who happily reveals himself to be the captor.
Yeah.
Li Wujin just picks him up off the street and says, "Hey, it's me. I did this to you. Don't kill me because I've got a weak heart. I'm able to kill myself via means. So if you just try and figure out why, and then if you're able to, I'll kill myself, and everything's going to be fine."
Yeah, you'll have your revenge on me, but only if you figure it out. And if you try and torture me and find out, I will kill myself with this. He's got this button on this this cool
remote
stainless steel remote
thing. He's paid a surgeon to include an off button to his pacemaker, which will essentially off his heart when if anything bad happens to him, which is brilliant because instantly Odesu has got a terrible dilemma. Do I get my revenge and kill this son of a bitch who's done this to me,
or do I find out why?
The film highlights, or it really stresses the importance of truth, or the importance of gossip, and how devastating gossip can be, and whether ignorance is bliss. And I love that idea about whether if he had just killed him right then, he would have been fine.
Yeah,
his world would have been fine.
Exactly,
but no, he had such a morbid fascination, and so do we.
Yeah,
the audience wants him to live so we can find out why.
Yeah,
and that's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's like Blofeld coming to James Bond and saying, "If you kill me now,
it's like he just throws a gun at his feet. He's just like, shoot me, basically. He's just saying, you can kill me now if you want.
Yeah,
I did this terrible thing to you.
Yeah, and instantly
ruined your life, so you can do this to me now." And he's like, well, I'm much more curious than that.
Exactly.
And he gets over it, and he just thinks, no, I'll try and find out.
Essentially,
And so then we're in, we're up to about the 40-minute mark?
Yeah. We've got most of the film still.
Yeah.
And
we know who the villain is, so that's that mystery out.
Yeah.
That's not the mystery of the movie.
No.
But then the mystery becomes why.
Exactly. So Odesu then continues on his journey trying to find out where he went wrong in his life. So he has to go back. He speaks to his best friend. He speaks to friends from his old high school. Turns out that it is Odesu's involvement with Li Wujin, the bad guy's family, that has affected him in the past and that has caught up with him in the future.
Yeah, so it turns out I'll call him the bad guy.
The bad guy, yeah.
has had in high school an incestuous relationship with his sister.
Yes.
With his own sister.
Yes.
And that Oldboy witnessed the bad guy in a sexual act with his own sister.
Yes.
That scene is so well done, by the way, when you have this kind of, it's like a POV that turns into like a flashback.
Is this when he's like
he's
going through his old school grounds that's like abandoned, and he's chasing a younger version of himself as he's he's remembering walking through the grounds.
Yes.
And seeing what he saw. And Park Chan-wook, his cinematography is so poetic and amazing and just sweeping and glorious. I absolutely can't say enough about it.
In any other movie, that scene might even feel out of place. It might look a little bit different to the rest of the footage, but it serves the purpose of that. It's like, because that's a real moment of reflection and of kind of like, I just thought it was amazing.
He's going on a nostalgic journey, and so are we. We're being led by the memory just as he is, because he is not remembering.
The movie softens, and the humour goes away, and it's just kind of like this beautiful kind of gliding. The camera's like, and then he looks through. It's kind of like glass bit in the glass.
A glass pane that's broken, yeah.
And we witness this act of incest between the bad guy and his sister.
Yeah, but it's not filmed in a salacious way. It's not filmed in a, oh my God, isn't this horrible and like disgusting. It's filmed in like, oh my God, there's actually romance between these two.
He loves her. Like, it's Game of Thrones. It's like, it's a real relationship.
It doesn't even seem to be judging. It just seems to be like, oh, this has happened. This is what he's witnessed. Yeah. And this is where things have gone wrong. Yeah. It's like the good old days in a way. There's like a rose-tinted glass hue to it. Yeah,
definitely.
And you can definitely see where everything goes wrong from this point.
So yeah, it really reminded me of obviously I saw Game of Thrones first and stuff, and there's so many scenes in that between like Cersei and Jaime that are just so ridiculous. You're just like, this is horrible and wrong and ridiculous and everything, but you suspension of disbelief. You're just totally,
of course,
caught up in it, and because they love each other. That's the emotion that's there, and it's the same in this movie. I'm not saying it's right or it's appropriate, but it's
of course
in
not.
any way. Yeah. But it's just that that's the way they feel.
But that is why I feel like Lee Woo-jin, the antagonist, is such an intriguing and different villain for the film. It's you actually get a feeling for where he's coming from. You get a feeling for why he feels the way he feels, and like the most relatable bad guys are always the most interesting. Just like Black Panther recently, or Thanos.
Even Thanos, I kind of felt for him. Like,
exactly.
Like,
Josh
Brolin. What are you going to do with this guy? Oh God, yeah. Who's starring in the
Oldboy remake, and Elizabeth Olsen. Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, let's not talk about talk about that at all.
What was she called? Purple Witch?
Scarlet Witch. Close. Purple Witch?
That's a Prince thing, I don't know.
It does sound like a Prince song.
1980s album.
It does sound like a Prince song. Yeah.
So then that's the revelation to us. Then we know why.
Essentially,
from that point,
Odesu realizes that, I did see this happen, and then I told my best friend about it.
Yes.
It spread around the school, and she ended the sister of the antagonist ended up killing herself.
Right.
Because of the rumors that were flying around inadvertently. Odesu had no idea that what he did sparked this chain of events that has unwittingly led to him being imprisoned and his wife and daughter being murdered.
Exactly. So from then on, we know, but bad guy hates Oldboy for that reason. That's the reason he did this to him.
Yes.
So that's a huge, revelation in the movie.
Exactly. So Oldboy, Odesu, comes to the bad guy's apartment. He says, I understand why this is happening. Please leave me alone. I'm so sorry that I did it. But now I understand why. So please kill yourself, essentially.
And he says, but one more thing.
Oh, the revelation is absolutely sublime. So
this scene is incredible, and the music, for me, the music's great all the way through the movie. It's kind of a mixture of like real orchestra with synth keyboard and some hip-hop beats in it. It's a really original soundtrack.
It's
the
definitely
music
unique,
in this scene is heartbreaking.
For context, whilst Odesu has been trying to find out the mystery, he's been accompanied by the sushi chef, Mido, who's taken him in, dressed his wounds, made sure that he's given rides, he's got a place to stay.
And they fall deeply in love.
They fall in love over the course of this week, which seems rather strange, but they seem to have an earnest relationship.
And they sleep together, and they fall in love completely.
Yeah, and like they commit to each other, which is lovely. And it's only then when Odesu gets to Lee Woo-jin's apartment that he's given a purple box, and inside there's a nice photo album. Lovely purple box. And in the purple box there is a photo album. He flips through, and there is a picture of
little baby girl
on Odesu's lap.
Yes.
It's the family portrait. It's Odesu, his wife, and his daughter. And then flipping it, the young girl has survived. The young girl grows up. The young girl revealed to be Mido, and Odesu.
Sleeping with.
Odesu has been having sex with his own daughter. Oh my God.
Really aggressively, and
yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it is such a gut punch. It is such a horrible, horrible revelation.
And it's that moment that, for me, my head just went, this isn't his movie.
No, it's not his revenge.
Odesu?
Odesu,
This is not Oldboy's movie, Odesu. This is the bad guy's
It's the bad guy's revenge. The bad guy has gotten his revenge. He's done it. He's managed to reveal, and he's so happy in that reveal scene. He's got like a laser pointer, and he's showing Odesu to the box where the secret is held, and he's giggling. Yeah. He's happy. He's so happy that he's gotten his revenge.
And Odesu just falls to his feet and just starts licking his boots and saying, "I'll do anything for you to stay." To not tell her.
Mido. Yeah, and don't tell Mido.
Don't
please.
ruin her life as well as you've ruined mine.
Exactly.
And he just starts, and he says, "I'll bark like a dog," and he starts like barking.
It's absolutely horrible. He degrades himself.
Swelling, and it's like
he degrades himself so much just to, and like again,
it's like Cartman feeding Scott Tenorman his parents. It's just that. Jesus Christ, dude! And the music's swelling, and it's just
our protagonist, who's been held in such high regard by us, has fallen.
Yeah.
So far. And he is the level of a dog. He's licking the bad guy's shoes, basically.
Yeah.
He's saying
barking and crying and blood dripping out of his mouth.
Exactly. You think this is going to be his finale. He's able to finally overcome the bad guy, and he's reduced to tears. He's reduced to an animalistic behavior, and it's so heartbreaking. But
you don't know who to kind of feel for. You kind of feel a little bit for everybody, and
exactly
for both characters, and obviously for the daughter, you just don't know
Yeah, but
yeah.
but but the bad guy is enjoying it so much. He's laughing all the way through this.
Yeah.
And he's so happy all the way through the film. I can't emphasize how much that I love this character. This bad guy has gotten his revenge. He's incredibly
already won,
wealthy.
basically. As soon as Oldboy's released, more or less,
Yeah.
he's pretty much already won. So then when you watch it back, like you said, he's just grinning and he's enjoying every minute of it.
I mean, when you look back at it, there's a lot of it that does require a lot the suspension of disbelief and you having to believe in the power of hypnosis and hypnotic suggestion to make all this happen. But if that is the case and you go with the film, then it is an amazing revenge movie because not because our hero wins, but because the villain wins. And you don't see many of them. And that's what stood out for me. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely horrible. There is no happy ending here whatsoever.
No.
The bad guy wins. He's got nothing left to live for. And then when oh my God, he hands Odesu the remote to turn off his pacemaker. If, like, okay, you won, you gets to kill me. But the thing he hands him is the remote to an audio file that plays of him being recorded having sex with Mido.
It just plays high volume.
Oh God,
on repeat.
it's such a horrible last final knife twist in the back of him. And he's already, we forgot to mention, he cuts out his tongue.
Yeah.
He cuts out his tongue to not...
As an offering to him to say...
I'm so sorry that my gossiping got your sister killed. I'm so sorry that I did this to you. You are so right. I've done such a horrible thing. He's finally come to terms with how horrible his transgression has been, and he almost says like he deserves it, and he's fine to take the punishment and cut out his own tongue, but don't tell his daughter because he doesn't want that to be. And it's just such a horrible extreme act when he actually does cut the tongue out, but you feel for him. You feel such mania. It is complete mania. It is complete.
And the acting, not even really talked about. I mean, just what a great performance it is.
Yeah.
From him. I mean, it's just, and again, there's no other performance like it, really. I can't think of.
Yeah, Choi Min-Sik is absolutely amazing. I'm so surprised that he's not been in more things after this.
Yeah.
He was the bad guy in Lucy.
Oh, okay,
that Scarlett Johansson film.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Right.
Fine.
And in the Revenge trilogy, he's in the third film, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. He's one of. I don't want to say who he is in it to spoil things, but he's fantastic in that. But apart from that, I haven't seen him in anything.
I really want to watch this. This is the middle part of a trilogy, essentially. Not narratively, but there's a
themically.
Yeah, a bit like
thematic, I should say.
Tarantino's kind of Reservoir Dogs. Pulp Fiction, Jackie
there's
Brown.
A crime trilogy, but this is like a revenge trilogy.
So the first one was released in around 1996, 97?
I think so, yes.
It was called
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Then you've got Oldboy released in 2003, and then Sympathy for Lady Vengeance in 2004?
2004, 2005, something like that, yeah.
So I'm definitely going to watch. I mean, now that this one has truly sank in, I'm going to watch the other two.
I can't recommend Park Chan-wook's filmography enough. He's done a film with Nicole Kidman and Mia Wasikowska in 2011 called Stoker. That was my film of the year that year.
Yeah.
He did a film, I think it was 2 years ago, called The Handmaiden, which was probably my film of the year that year as well. He has done so many other films. Thirst, he's done a film about a vampire priest that is just really, really good. He is one of my favourite directors working today. He has got such a fantastic eye.
Yeah. And
some of the shots in, say, Stoker blew my mind when I watched them in the cinema. I can't recommend his stuff enough. Even if you're not a fan of Asian cinema, he's done English-speaking films, and I'd highly recommend searching them out. When I saw Stoker in the cinema, me and my friend both had totally different opinions on what the film was.
Yeah,
we took it in way different ways.
What it was about and what the.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not to go on too much about Stoker, but he saw it as a serial killer film. I saw it as a vampire film, and both are completely acceptable.
Yeah.
And you can see it as both because he does it in such a way where it's completely ambiguous. And speaking of ambiguous, I feel like the final shot in the film is one of my favourite ambiguous endings. It's up there with Inception in terms of you don't know. Because essentially when all this gets revealed, Odesu wants to forget what he's learned, and he knows the name of the hypnotist who's gotten him into this position, and he wants to try and forget. And so he meets her in this snowy field. It's absolutely beautiful. The flute music over the background is so innocent and light.
And he's just kind of sat in this chair.
He's a broken man. He's
Yeah.
complete. Again, from where you see him at the beginning to where he is at the end is my favourite arc.
Yeah.
In terms of, there's such a visible degradation of this man, and he has been through so much.
Yeah, and he's just kind of staring into the distance. He's barely even
but you
there.
don't know whether it's worked. You don't know
Yeah.
whether he's forgotten. You don't know whether
Yeah.
he remembers. And again,
If he's just catatonic from the whole thing,
Yeah.
or you just don't know.
but it's the whole, he starts off smiling, but then it turns into weeping, and you don't know whether he's trying.
Weeping you alone?
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't know whether he's trying to smile to forget the weeping, and he just he can't do it because he's able.
Yeah.
He's remembering. It hasn't worked. He still remembers that he's hugging his
Yeah,
daughter
or if he's
instead.
weeping and that means he's clear and he's a new person and he doesn't remember that kind of.
And he's just happy
you
to
know.
be with her. Yeah, you don't know whether it's happy crying. You don't know whether it's sad crying, and that. The fact that film contains that ending, and still to this day I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Is brilliant, and it'll stay with me forever. And I
think
love this
those
film.
are the best movies. I mean, like, you know, that's why I was kind of annoyed with Inception. Spoiler, when it had the
spinning top.
spinny thing falling at the end. I was just like, you know, okay, it did fall, right? Or was it?
No,
stay
no,
up?
it stays up, but it starts to wobble.
No, but at the end of the credits, it falls.
No,
Oh,
I don't think so.
I must have been a dream.
What do you mean, like an end credits?
Yeah, I thought right at the end. Does it not at the end
I don't
credits?
think
it
so.
falls.
I don't think so.
I remember that happening and being really like, oh, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like it should have just wobbled.
I don't think I've ever stayed until the end of it, but I don't.
Okay,
think
we'll cut
there
this
is.
bit out. Anyway,
No, leave it in. I'm quite intrigued now.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that. But anyway, I might have just dreamt a shitter ending.
You
to a movie.
wanted the ending to be
Yeah,
that,
shut
yes.
out my own shit ending. Shall we round it up?
Well, before we do, I just want to say the hammer scene. It's inspired so many TV series like Daredevil and stuff recently.
Well, I saw Daredevil first, which was kind of annoying because I remember my mate saying, "Come round and watch this scene because of how great it is," and it was great. Like in Daredevil, I thought it was so great.
Yeah.
And then I watched this and I was like, this was.
Oh, yeah, it's such a shame.
12 years earlier or whatever. And
I saw it back in like 2005, 2006, and I was just like, oh my God, this is... essentially, it's one long 3-minute take of a fight scene that is incredibly awkward and intentionally clumsy.
It's
and
kind
it
of
is
side-scrolling along this corridor, so the camera's set up, so it's kind of like a Wes Anderson shot.
There's a
It's just
dolly
like moving.
shot that goes all the way through, and you just follow Odesu fighting about, I'd say 30 guys, is it?
Yeah.
And he does such a good job.
And he's out completely outnumbered. But
yeah.
the choreography, the way it's done, you don't actually think, oh, that's unrealistic. You know,
No,
when you
it's
rewatch it, you think,
completely realistic.
like the way he defeats them all is actually kind of believable, like the way it's choreographed.
Everyone's like hobbling by the end of it. No one's dead. No one's like maimed, but people are just like, oh God, that really hurts my knee.
Yeah.
and he's got a knife in his back.
Yeah.
And he's just bleeding and he's just sweaty and he's just horrible.
Been copied and copied.
Yeah.
So I mean, Kill Bill, that scene where she's
crazy
gone through the
88.
dojo and everyone's left with limbs missing and everyone's screaming on the floor. That was just, you know. So it's that kind of thing, like, you know, because I've just seen this movie this last year.
Yeah.
It, you know, you think, that's where this
The
came from.
inspiration,
The
yes.
inspiration where all these, you know, movies have these long continuous shots.
Yeah.
Great movie. Couldn't recommend it more. Thank you very much. Thank you for showing it to me.
Please watch this film,
Mike.
Listener. You are welcome, Matt. I'm very, very happy that you had the same reaction to me about it, and we'll watch it again, no doubt, someday.
Great. So we started talking about Oldboy, and we went to I Spit on Your Grave.
Yep.
We got into an interesting horror debate, and
you mentioned Cartman again.
Oh yeah, it's funny this recurring South Park
keeps
something about
bringing up. Yeah.
embedded in my
Scott Tenorman's tears.
psyche. Yeah, I think there's several references to South Park.
So that's goodbye from me, Mike, and say goodbye, Matt.
Bye, Matt.
And thanks very much for listening. We'll speak to you again soon.